We're rolling.
As long as the sound's good, you know.
Da 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 da.
Hey! Do 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 do.
Okay, now it's time for me to kind of escape.
Yeah, man, you jacked up on coffee or what?
Ooh-wee. Hello Earthlings. I'm Bill Gentry and I'm here in Siem Reap, Cambodia with my co-host today, Julia Haw.
Hello, everyone. How are you doing? Jim Rip Sua.
Yeah, she is becoming quite proficient at Khmer, and I'm starting to study Khmer myself. It's here in Cambodia that we have our project that we're trying to make more awareness around the world for. It's the Colors of Cambodia Art School. Anyhow, we're going to talk about a couple particular topics today.
Cool.
What do you think we should talk about?
Okay, so what I'm really interested in is I remember you mentioning a story when you went to Buenos Aires, and I cannot stop thinking about this story because it's just you and it's ridiculous. So can we?
It's forced up. Bill
can we talk about that? Up. Because yeah, okay. I want to see the footage as well, and you guys will know what we're talking about.
What were you there filming me?
No, but I need to see this footage.
Okay, this is a crazy thing that happened to be completely unexpected. Just one of the things that kind of happens to Earth to Bill as he has traveled around the world. And I was on a business trip. I was working for the family business, and this is early to mid 1990s. I was on a business trip down to Buenos Aires, Argentina. And I think, as I've said in some of the other podcasts, I was an international salesman. I got the opportunity to go all over the world, and we didn't do any business at that time in Argentina. So we had some distributors down there contacting us, saying, hey, why don't you come on down here? Let's talk about maybe a relationship. Okay, so I'm going to go to Argentina, Buenos Aires, the big city, one of the biggest cities in the world. World famous nightlife.
Yeah, didn't you say the clubs were open till like 4 a.m. or something like that?
I think some of them open at 4.
Oh my god.
No, I think like a lot of them. At that time, the Buenos Aires nightclub scene was like one of the most famous in the world.
And how old were you at this time? Like
I was probably late 30s. So I was probably wouldn't be able to get into the nightclubs, too old of a geezer. And I tell you what, the one night I had to go out night clubbing was the night I took the 12-hour flight down from America. But anyhow, so I'm going to Buenos Aires. You know, I'm planning a trip for a few weeks. And at that same time, I'm starting to play polo on horses, not water polo. I'm starting to play polo. And it just so happens that the world's most famous place for breeding and grooming and developing polo players is in Argentina. Okay, so anyhow, I'm starting to play polo, probably by far, and pretty much always was the worst player on our hillbilly team in Missouri.
I also need footage of that.
That was before there were really cameras. So I'm telling the people that I'm going down to Argentina. Hey, that's cool, you know, go buy a saddle, etc., etc. Well, the wives of one of the guys that I'm playing polo with was from Argentina. And she said, oh my God, you're going to Buenos Aires. You have to see my friend Carla. Carla, oh, she will show you the town. She's such a wonderful person. Oh, this is so exciting. Carla will love you. She'll take you out. You could go night clubbing, etc., etc. So, okay, cool. I'm going to land in Buenos Aires. I'm there 2 nights, and I'm going to be able to see the city with a local tour guide and you know, attractive accompaniment. All right, got my trip planned. I'm going to land at the airport in Buenos Aires. Carla, I thought, would probably come meet me. So I land at the airport, and it turns out that when I call Carla from the payphone, because this is back more in the payphone.
Oh my god.
She says, Bill, I cannot come. I cannot come to pick you up. I have a very busy night. I forgot to tell you this. You're going to have to come and join me where I am working. And so just catch a taxi there at the airport. It is kind of rush hour, but the traffic will be going out and you'll be coming into town. It shouldn't be so hard to get there. So just tell the taxi driver that you're going to go to the Palacio Rosa, which is the Pink Palace in Spanish.
Love it.
Palacio Rosa.
And it's nighttime, I'm assuming?
No, it's probably around 4:30. I think it was winter for us in America, so it was summer down there. I land, call her. All right, I've got to catch my own taxi and go down to the Pink Palace. Well, that sounds like kind of an interesting place. To me, I didn't really know what the Pink Palace was at that time. Maybe it was a mall.
Yeah, it sounds like a nightclub.
Yeah, it could have been just a mall. I go down to the Pink Palace. It didn't take that long, maybe 45 minutes if my memory's correct. My gosh, it's where the president of Argentina lives. President Menem was the president at that time.
Oh, wow.
Oh, okay. So I don't know why. She hadn't told me why she's down there. I somehow contact her through some guys at the gate. There's a lot of people starting to gather, though, around the Pink Palace. And so Carla comes down to meet me, and she gives me a pass. She said, Beal, I work here. I'm a reporter. My job for the newspaper I work for is to just cover whatever happens to President Menem.
Oh, wow. So she worked closely with him then. She was kind of...
Well, she and probably around 35 other reporters, they have this staff room like on the third floor where they have all of their computer stations set up. This is back in the days where everybody had a desktop. She was by far not the only one. So I went up there and I still had my luggage. I put all my stuff into her...
Well, what were you wearing? You know, this is that when you told me the story, I just couldn't imagine. Like, you got off the plane.
I was wearing that clown outfit that I wear. No, totally, just
you
probably
wearing
jeans.
sweatpants? Like,
no, I mean, I wasn't landing having to go straight.
I'm assuming that everyone is dressed up, you know, at this event or this place, right? The
No,
Pink Palace.
Carla was not. I mean, what it turns out is there's those the cameras are facing. The camera is directed at, and there are those on the other side of the camera who don't. Many times, like in Hollywood TV, they don't care what they look like because they're never seen. Yeah, and then Carla is going to tell me what all this is about. Why are there people circling around and starting to enter the Pink Palace? And here I am. I've been in Argentina 90 minutes. I'm already at the home of the President Menem, the president of Argentina. Okay, so really what was going on is that a lot of people were coming to the Pink Palace to watch President Menem tango because it's so famous there. And they invited me because they heard I was such a good dancer.
Oh, yeah, you were taking those tango lessons. I remember that.
I teach tango.
Yeah.
I used to teach tango.
And it takes two, right? So
Takes two to tango. Okay, no, so yeah, here I am. I'm in the reporters, the newsroom at the Pink Palace, mid-90s, and Carla says what is happening tonight, which is a very big event. It's the changing of the guards. And this is the time, the opportunity that each year the president of Argentina gives a state of the country address on the military situation that they're faced with.
how long had he been president?
He was president for around 10 years, and I think he was about halfway into his tenure, his post.
Okay, so he was pretty seasoned.
Yeah.
Very well respected.
Yeah,
Cool.
And he was back in those days. The economy in Argentina, which was imploding, and there were the Peronists. What was going on in Argentina was actually occasionally global news. You don't hear much about what's going on down there now. But so anyhow, we're at the changing of the guards night, and so what Carla tells me is that he's going to give a speech. There's going to be some bleachers that are going to be set up. They're actually being set up as we're talking, where the generals, the colonels, the admirals, all of the high officials in the military are going to be basically who Menem is addressing, along with the news media and those who might watch this address on TV.
Was the palace actually pink?
The palace was pink, and the palace, this palace was palatial.
Was that huge?
It was huge, grand, very Greco-Roman. Everything was painted pink. The pillars that were holding up the porches and surrounding the building, it looked very much, if not even more impressive.
What an entrance!
The American White House.
Off the plane to the palatial palace.
I'm already hanging, and I haven't become tight yet with Menem, but I'm already hanging at the president's palace. I've been in the country 2 hours.
Love it, love it.
But that's just the beginning. So Carla says, I gotta leave you, Bill. There's a lot going on. I'll meet you back here in the newsroom after the speech. So you just, make yourself at home, wander around. You have the press pass. Nobody's gonna bother you.
And the luggage?
The luggage is in the newsroom.
Okay.
She said, don't worry about it. It's safe. So she saw how crummy my luggage looked. So she said, nobody's gonna bother trying to break into that.
No Louis Vuitton. All right.
No, that. She leaves me. I start to just kind of wander around.
You're just
the palace.
yeah.
I'm just wandering around.
Now, were there many other foreigners at this time?
Well, in this case, I'm going to say foreigners. Let's say the elites. Most of Argentinians are of Italian descent, is what I was told. So I would say I look just like everybody else. It wasn't like different.
It wasn't like being in Cambodia where you're the barang, the only barang in the room.
I look like just every other white gringo dude there at the palace. So I start to see that, there really is a large gathering of people starting to accumulate out on this kind of patio that is covered by a roof and some columns, but I didn't really know what was going to happen where. So I'm just kind of wandering here and there, and I'm probably there another 30 or 40 minutes, and there's marble everywhere. It's grand. There's flowers. There's military people all over.
Did you manage to get yourself a drink? Are you easing in?
No, I was not. I didn't find where the wine bar was or anything.
So you're just milling around.
I am. I'm just strictly just kind of wandering around, sort of in a space zone. And it was Earth to Bill, with 3 underlines. It was like some kind of like, well, how did I arrive here and get into such a situation?
Okay.
I only know one person in Argentina, and she's already got me at the president's palace. So at a certain point, it becomes kind of clear as I'm wandering that the event, the speech is going to start soon. But I didn't know it was going to start as soon as it actually did. So we've got the generals over here and the admirals, and we have, I'm going to say, somewhere close to 100 cameras that are sort of pointing in my direction as I'm in the backside of this front courtyard. There's a lot of lights coming on. There's microphones. There's kind of a stand here, a podium, and the next thing you know, the applause starts, and this dude walks right past me. I could have touched him. He's dressed up very, very well in a suit, black suit. He's walking past, and I'm like, crap, this is the guy. He's right here. And all the cameras are pointing at me, so I immediately kind of snuck back and hid behind one of the columns. All right? There's a lot of columns, and there's a lot of cameras, and there's a lot of people, and I'm basically 10 feet right behind the president as he's giving his speech, hiding behind a column. All right? So I'm like, geez, if I try to run and escape now with everybody looking this direction, they're going to probably think I'm some kind of a terrorist or whatever, and I'm going to be tackled and handcuffed and shuffled off to the local dungeons. I just stayed behind my pink column.
Wow.
And, the speech it's in Spanish, as much as I might say I'm fluent in Spanish, I don't think I really understood a word. And he's talking, as Carla said, he's going to give an address. The changing of the guards.
And at this point, no one saw you.
As far as I know, nobody's acknowledged that Forrest Gump, me, is hiding behind these columns.
I just find that so hard to believe, Mel.
It's just true.
Because I feel like security now is so exceptionally insane. You know what I mean? Like,
well, I had the pass, remember?
Okay.
It's
like you had a pass around your neck.
I had the press pass. So the speech is going on and on. As Carla told me, he's talking about what's going on, if there's any border disputes or if there's any problems with the boats and fisheries and encroachment on their waters, whatever they talk about, whatever an Argentine president talks about in respects to military issues, he's given it. And I'll mention changing of the guards means that after that night, all of the guards who were stationed there at the Pink Palace would switch over. And I think it was kind of an elite and a desirable post to be posted at the Pink Palace, the zone of Palacio Rosso. So the president's giving a speech, and I'm getting kind of bored because this thing is going on, and I'm like, so occasionally I would sort of stick my head.
Oh my God.
Stick my head around.
I'm sorry, Bill, but you don't blend in, man. No, like...
I should have worn pink that night. I should have worn my pink suit. So every 5 minutes or something, I'm gonna poke my head around, and nobody's doing anything. Nobody's probably even noticing me because the lights, to a certain extent, are very hyper-focused, these spotlights on the president.
Right.
So the speech is going on, and there's lots of applause, and for the most part, the generals, who are all like 85 years old, look like wooden statues, stone-faced and carved and expressionless.
It sounds honestly very boring, dude.
Well, it was
exciting in the beginning, but
I was in a very precarious situation because if I ran for it, like I said, then I would be the focus, and I mean that might have been the main center of the news that night is the American.
The guards are after Gentry, dude.
All right, so speech finally comes to a close, and there's applause and applause and applause, and. I'm feeling greatly relieved. I haven't been noticed. I haven't been found. I haven't been handcuffed. I've just maybe a half dozen times stuck my head around the big columns, and speech is over. There's a flood on stage of congratulations and handshakes with Menem, and I kind of like, okay, now it's time for me to kind of escape, which I sort of did. I just kind of like, okay, I'm out of here, and so I sort of rush off and go back up to the newsroom, and I wait for Carla, and it was a while before she came, and she comes in, and, oh, Bill, what did you think? Was it wonderful? Where were you? I didn't see you. And I'm like, well, I was looking for you too, Carla, but I didn't see you either. I mean, it was just a lot of lights. And I don't think I told her what I was doing or where I was, because I thought maybe I still might get in trouble. She said, okay, let me get let me finish up my little story. Give me 20 minutes and we'll go into town and we'll have a wonderful beef dinner because Argentina's famous for its beef.
Okay.
And maybe if you're up for it, we'll stay up and we'll go to these
nightclubs,
world famous nightclubs. Which I was at that time. I think I was ready. I was ready to try that. But as time went by, and we went down to eat. And I'd been on a 12-hour flight, and I was kind of exhausted from thinking I was going to maybe be spending the night in a jail in Buenos Aires. We had our meal. She took me to my hotel. I think I was staying at the Hyatt that night. And check in. It's about midnight. We didn't do any nightclubs.
Okay.
And I'm like, wow, what a day.
What a day. Oh my God.
I've flown all the way to a country I've never been to before. I visited the Pink Palace, the president, and what else? What else more can happen that would make this an even more exceptional day? What? Well, I go over and I turn on the TV. I turn on the TV, and I'm not
all right.
joking
Yeah,
at all.
click at their channels.
I didn't even have to flick a channel. I turn it on, and right there in front of me is the president speaking, and right behind him is Bill.
No way.
Sticking his head out. Right there on not internet, but national news. And I don't know if anybody had any idea or even noticed, but I certainly noticed that I was there, right there with the president on TV. I've been in town 6 hours, and I've already seen myself on TV with the president of Argentina. So that's kind of a exceptional story. Really.
Please tell me that you managed to get footage of that. Shapes and form.
I imagine if I knew the right people down there now, we could probably get some footage of that because they probably retain.
I'm sure they do. It's probably on file. Are you still in touch with Carla?
No. I'm not in touch with Carla nor the people on the polo team. But anyhow,
that is such a wild entrance.
It was a wild story. So. Let me do a little bio break here, and then I've got one other little shorter story about some things that went on in Montreal when I set up the first office there for our company. Ooh, wow, that was a long bio break.
Yeah, man, you jacked up on coffee or what?
Hey, Julia, tell us who is Julia Haw?
Who is Julia Haw?
What are you doing here in Cambodia?
Oh, okay. Well, a large part of that has to do with you and my connection with you. So I actually met Bill when he was on stage singing and playing guitar back in 2015. totally randomly, you were at some restaurant. I can't even remember where it was.
It's called Grays.
Grays. It was my first time in Cambodia ever. And I was just here on a 3-day trip from Thailand with a wild fling that I had, if you will. And, you know, that's when I met Bill. And he was just like, yeah, I run this NGO. And I was just like, yeah, cool. So we exchanged business cards. As fate would have it, and as serendipity would have it, which a lot of times that happens here in Cambodia, one of the many reasons why I love this place. The next day I'm walking through town, because at that time the gallery was located near the old market. And I look up and there's Colors of Cambodia. So I had to walk in. And I don't know, man, the rest is kind of history, because over the next year or so, Bill and I stayed in contact, and, you know, due to the state of affairs in the United States and a lot of negative things that were happening, I actually reached out to Bill and asked if I could come to Colors of Cambodia and volunteer for 2 or 3 months. And that was right timed when I was moving to New York City. So Bill said something very pivotal that actually did change my life. You were like, where there's a will, there's a way. And I'll just never forget that. And I ended up coming here in 2017 to volunteer for 3 months. And that changed the course of my life. And I ended up living, or basically moving here years later after 5 trips, because I just couldn't get away from this place, you know. And I knew I was in trouble because I was walking down the street one day during that early volunteer opportunity with my headphones in. And I just remember I just had happiness coursing through my body. I was like, I had never felt happier. I was like, uh-oh, because I had just moved to New York, and I thought, as an artist, you know, wanting to move to New York City since the age of 7, that would just be it for me. I finally made it to Brooklyn. I had been living in Chicago for 9 years, and I was like, I made it. Finally, I'm going to live and die in New York, man. You know, this is it, you know. And it just makes me feel so grateful, you know, for the idea of pivots in life, and honoring your intuition and acknowledging these divine pivots that'll pop up, you know, not just stuffing it down and being like, oh, I committed to living in New York and that's it, you know. That's
New York are like sister cities, aren't they?
Honestly, they do have similarities, and people are kind of shook when I tell them that. One of the biggest similarities between New York and Siem Reap, just to let the audience know, is that Siem Reap has an awesome international community here. So you've got South Africans, you've got French, you've got Australians, a lot of French actually. We had an amazing French dinner last night.
I think there's more French restaurants here than in Paris.
Yeah. I remember my friends telling me to go get falafel in Paris. I'm like, okay. But yeah, you've got New Zealanders, England, people from England. So with that being said, it's just like this very concentrated international community, and I love that about it. But the differences that are better than New York are, it takes 5 minutes to get anywhere. You know, you don't have to spend an hour commuting every day.
5 minutes on bike.
5 minutes on bike, 5 minutes by 3 minutes by tuk, you know. Obviously,
Tuk, everybody, tuk. Those are
tuk.
little carriage behind the motorcycle.
Tuki now.
They're wonderful. I want to make a plug for you. You've got your own YouTube channel.
Yeah.
Which is amazingly successful.
Yeah, it's been doing really well.
She's going to be filming a TV show for, what's the name of that?
Yeah. Well, I can't quite release that yet.
Okay, it's a TV show to later to be disclosed, but she's also she's made a huge difference in the art education of our kids. Made a big impact on them over the years and taught them some skill sets I don't have and some of our other teachers don't have. So I want to thank you here for the world, those people back on Earth. Thank you for what you've done for Colors of Cambodia. Very talented.
Sometimes it
New York
feels like,
City
yeah.
artist.
And you know, I just love that. I want to keep the connection between New York and Cambodia, and I think just kind of in closing with who I am, like just, I think it's just so important to honor your intuition and, you know, honor those pivots in life, and that's why I'm here, and that's why you're here as well, right?
Yeah, and for any of you out there who are wondering which way to go with your future and your education, become an artist. It's the most practical thing you can do.
Yeah, but
Maybe not financially.
I don't necessarily think you can become an artist. I think that it's not really a choice. Yeah.
Okay. All right, so I thank you again, Julia Haw. I got one little last story, which is it's not a long story, but it's about the first international sales office I set up and some of the interviewing process and sort of a funny ending to the interviews. But I was, for a while, I kind of handled for our small family business pretty much the entire world as the salesman outside of America or Europe. We had our own European gig going, we had an America gig, and I was everywhere else. And that included Canada. And I love Canada. Canada's a beautiful country. Is that funny?
No, you're just like, I love Canada. Canada's awesome.
Yeah, it is. It's very diverse, and Vancouver, Calgary, Edmonton, Toronto, Ottawa, Montreal, those were the cities I covered. And we did a lot of business in Canada, and we started to do a lot of business in Canada. So it became clear that I couldn't continue to really develop the territory because it was getting bigger and bigger. I needed to go up and set an office up in Montreal is what we decided, because much of our business was more in the Montreal area than, let's say, in Ottawa or Vancouver. All right, I'm going to go to Montreal, and I wonderfully decided to do it in the middle of winter, and I'm in it, and I hit.
Fantastic idea, dude.
This is the old-fashioned way. This is like 1989, 1990. You call people up on the phone, and you phone hardwired.
Did you take a train
phone.
up there? Or?
No, I flew up. I was living in Sunnyvale, California at the time. So
Oh, got it.
It would have been a long train ride. So I, did want ads. We put stuff in the newspaper. We got responses. I went through all the CVs that came in, resumes.
So what was the position you were hiring for?
This would have been the country manager.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Country manager for Canada.
So did you have people flying in then?
Some people did fly in from Toronto.
Okay.
It was mostly Toronto interviewees, but for the most part, just gentlemen at that time. People were gentlemen back then in Montreal, Quebec. So I flew up there. I did my sales calls during the day. I did the interviewing over the process for a period of a week, and I was doing it at a TGI Fridays. So I set up a booth that was basically my booth for 5
Did you get the
nights.
spinach dip?
I think it did.
Oh my god.
So back in those days, you worked all day and you worked all night, and I was in my probably late 20s, maybe hit 30 at that time. So I'm up in Montreal doing business calls during the week or during the day, and then at night I'm interviewing candidates. One interview per hour, 3 interviews per night. 15.
That's not how big was the 15.
Yeah. I think it was around 50, might have been 12, 13, but it was busy. I was busy and exhausted by the end of the week. Each one of these gentlemen would come in and, we'd shake hands. I'm in the back booth, come on back there. We'd talk some social niceties, and then I would try to throw some questions at them to, really find out what their true character was.
Okay.
I'll let you know I read some books on how to interview people. I mean, not that
I'm curious about what some of these questions were.
Well, one of
all questions.
What's your favorite pet? I mean, they were like, why are you asking me that? And another one was literally, what would you do if a naked woman were to walk in the door right now?
Are you kidding? You asked that?
That was one of my questions.
Whoa.
And it would draw out some expressions, but I was really impressed or curious about the answers, because most of them would come out and say, oh my God, I'd run up to her and give her my coat so she would, be covered.
Okay. Okay. Wow.
The gentleman of Quebec.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm interviewing these guys. Many of them are going to, let's just say, have a name, like Pierre, Jean-Pierre, very, very French. And I used to call Montreal, the Paris with a smile, because I've always found the Quebecois to be very friendly people. And not that Parisians are not are French people from France, but let's just say the Quebecois I found very friendly. So as I'm interviewing all of these guys, one after another, we're having questions, responses, I'm taking notes, I'm gathering my opinions. But as I'm seeing each one of these men, I noticed that each one of them, every single one of them, was missing in a very obvious place one tooth, if not more, possibly two teeth.
Weird.
And I didn't say anything. I was just like, wow. I mean, there's definite need.
I mean,
for
come on, man. There's dental care.
There should have been
We're
dental
in the
care.
80s now.
But Americans are a little bit spoiled with respect to dental care. So
Strange.
day after day, it continues. Every gentleman who comes in and is interviewed for the job is missing one tooth, two teeth, three teeth. Sometimes it might be something right up front
Oh my
here.
God.
It was not like I had to, look down their throat to see a missing tooth. So the last guy I interviewed
Wild, man.
turns out to be the one that we hired. His name was Michel, and he stayed with us for probably 8, 10, 12 years. I don't know exactly how long he stayed because I moved to Singapore. But Michel, he and I became quite close pretty quick. Very, very comfortable and smooth flowing conversation. He was a great conversationalist, and that's a key thing about a good salesman is a good conversationalist and somebody easy to warm up to. But I also noticed that Michel was not missing any teeth, and so
But that's not why you hired him, right?
yes, if you want to work for an American company, you have to have a full mouth of teeth.
It helps too.
Well, no, you're not going to fit in because every other male in Canada is missing teeth.
This is so
They're going to stand
weird.
back. So anyhow, I say it sort of towards the end of our conversation, at the interview, I said, Michelle, I've got a curious question for you that I really can't quite put my finger on, but I've noticed that everybody I've interviewed, all these guys, are missing one, two, or three teeth in their mouth, very obvious. Well, why do you think that would be? Because Michel himself had a full mouth of teeth.
Okay.
And he said, well, it's obviously you must not be recalling what's our number one sport up here in Canada. Everybody plays hockey, and anybody who plays a lot of hockey for long enough time is going to get a stick into their mouth. Teeth are going to be gone. And that's just how we roll up here in Canada. Men lose teeth because they play hockey. They play hockey. And I said, well, Michelle, what's your story? Did you not play any hockey because you had a full mouth of teeth? And he said, I think I played a bit more hockey than the other guys did. Let me show you. And he goes to his mouth and he starts pulling out his full dentures from the upper half. Michelle, you can hold on to your dentures. I get it. I get your story.
So he's more respected, dude. His whole.
Yeah. The more teeth you're missing, the more man you are in Quebec.
I guess so that's why you hired him. Okay.
Yes, I hired him because he had no teeth.
Oh my God, that's hilarious.
So, true story.
Unexpected. Wow.
All right, well, anyhow,
So weird.
Julia, thank you for being part of the show, the Earth.
Dude, always a
Bill
pleasure. That's why I love hanging out with
podcast.
Bill, because he'll just regale you with these weird tales, man.
I do have weird
like-
tales.
You are on a different planet, Bill. I don't know.
I'll take that as a compliment. All you out there, you take care. Art will save the world. And we appreciate your support. And we've got more podcasts coming up after this one.
Yeah,
How about where you say Lehigh and Cambodia?
Lehigh, Jewel Kenya Chop Chop.
Akun. Bye-bye. That's it for now. We hope you enjoyed listening to Earth to Bill. Thank you for tuning in. Your support means the world to us and helps us to continue bringing you fun, informational content for your enjoyment. Now let me tell you about our charity, A World of Difference. This fantastic charity is making a real difference in the lives of children around the world by providing them art education. We believe in the power of art to change lives. If you're interested in supporting this charity, please visit our website, awadcharity.org, and consider making a donation, please. Thanks again for checking out our show. Bye.